Okay, this is bizarre, but a new study says alien DNA may have been found inside of humans, claiming it was inserted into our genes. Okay. Humanity may be undergoing genetic transformation, lead researcher Dr. Max Rempel, the founder and CEO of the DNA Resonance Research Foundation, told the Daily Mail of the study, which has yet to be peer-reviewed. So, it's still not a gold standard peer-reviewed study, but nonetheless, the study shows that there might be DNA, alien DNA. And they took this from people that said that they were kidnapped by aliens, that they were abducted. And they compared people who were abducted versus people who were not abducted. And they said, yeah, there's some strange DNA markers here that don't come from either parent. What's this? Maybe those body snatchers actually did do some experimentation and inserted some alien DNA into them. Maybe the aliens are screwing with us. Says, if proven, this would be as world-shattering as recovering a flying saucer, said Nigel Watson, author of Portraits of Alien Encounters Revisited. Yeah, I would say so. If we discover that we actually have alien DNA, that some people have been abducted and aliens inserted their DNA, that would be, I think, kind of earth-shattering. Rempel came to this far-fetched seeming conclusion by analyzing DNA from both regular people and those who have claimed to have been abducted by aliens. This comes following a spike in UFO sightings over the last year, making many fear that we are on the verge of some not-so-friendly close encounters. Although I would say, I think that the spike in UFO sightings I think that has more to do with more of it being accepted. For a long time, if you said you saw a UFO, you were viewed as just, oh, you're crazy, you've lost your mind, we need to check you into an institution, something's really wrong with you. But now that Congress is having meetings on aliens and unidentified flying saucers, people are now like, hey, I saw one, and it's now okay to say, and people don't paint you as a lunatic. So I think that's why we're seeing this kind of spike in UFO sightings over the last year. The scientists specifically analyzed 581 complete families from the 1000 Genomes Project, discovering large sequences of DNA in 11 families that didn't appear to correspond to either family. These genetic aberrations entailed a bundle of 348 non-parental genetic variants. As the subjects were born before 1990, this ruled out human gene editing technologies like CRISPR, which only emerged in 2013. So they're looking at people that are older than that. And so, some people might say, oh, but we have, genetic modifications now like CRISPR. And this study saying, no, actually, we made sure we got people that were born before then and it wouldn't have been possible. Rempel also analyzed 23andMe results from individuals who self-identify as alien abductees, discovering that some families show evidence of non-parental markers. If this evidence is confirmed to be true, the alien prober feels that it could be possible to detect which humans carry alien DNA, essentially identifying hybrids. In other words, like the premises of every sci-fi flick from Invasion of the Body Snatchers to They Live, the aliens are already walking amongst us, camouflaged in our genes, per his theory. The extraterrestrial enthusiast even claimed that noted that a good portion of those with autism, ADHD, and Asperger's and other neurodivergent traits could contain these alien insertions, although he noted that this is speculation at this point. So you mean it's not Tylenol or the vaccines? It's alien DNA. That's what causes autism. And by the way, I'm not like making fun of this and thinking that this is crazy. I'm sure, of course, it's possible. Anything's possible. I mean, why wouldn't it be possible? He even suggested that these extraterrestrial genetic modifications could bestow humans with unusual abilities, like telepathy, much like Ellen Ripley's psychic abilities in the sci-fi sequel Alien Resurrection. Of course, there are some caveats to this out there study. Rempel, who holds a PhD from the Institute of Gene Biology in Moscow, Russia, noted that there is no conclusive evidence yet as they need better data sets, which are available only on approval. He says that takes time and effort. Who added that the current commercial genotyping services, which rely on array-based data, aren't precise enough to support such radical claims. Instead, he advocates for next-generation sequencing or whole genome sequencing, which can detect novel variants with much higher resolution. Another thing to point out is that even though the scientist was born in Moscow, Russia, he is an American living in America, doing these studies in America. So I think that's like an important point. This isn't, oh, the Russians are just trying to, the Russians are doing all these things to us. That's not what's actually happening here. He goes on to say that alien abduction experiences can stem from a variety of terrestrial factors, he says. We need to carefully verify these accounts before drawing conclusions about DNA. Nonetheless, he believes that further genetic research on volunteer abductees is needed and could potentially prove as world-shattering as recovering a flying saucer. Yeah, I would say so. I would totally say so. Could you imagine? I mean, if this ends up being true, if aliens have been visiting us and then they're like injecting their DNA to us, what would be the reasoning for doing that? They're not clearly killing us off. I mean, they're not injecting something into us that is like this plague-like infection that eradicates human lives. I mean, they're clearly not doing it because they want to kill us off. They could have done that if that was the case, maybe. I don't know. But if they're doing it and giving us telepathy and other kind of cool heightened sense things, I mean, I don't know. That's not so bad, right? Don't they say that anybody with an Rh negative blood type is descendant from alien, that's alien DNA? There's not very many people with an Rh negative blood type. It's like 10% of the population or something like that, and myself included. Does that make sense to you now? I'm an alien, right? It all makes sense. It all makes sense. Let me play this clip for you. This is Harvard scientist, Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb, that says scientists will understand more as attention increases about what's in our skies, extraterrestrial origin or not.
Well, we cannot gauge the likelihood. We know that most of the stars formed billions of years before the sun. So if there were civilizations on habitable planets like the Earth around other stars, they predated us, most of them. And they had plenty of time to send spacecraft that will reach us within a billion years from the edge of the Milky Way galaxy. So the question is whether we live in such a reality, and the only way to find out is by looking up. Rather than arguing about it. And of course, the government worries about objects for national security purposes, but that's not my concern as a scientist. I would like to look at the rest, those that they cannot identify and that could originate from an extraterrestrial origin. And so I established the Galileo project at Harvard University, and we are funded. We already built an observatory that monitors the sky in the optical band, in the infrared band, in radio, audio, 24/7. We are starting to collect data because the sky is not classified. It's only the government sensors that are classified. That's why the data is not available to us.
Oh, no, and he's totally right about that. I mean, the reality is that the government is the one deciding to censor and not give us all of the information, and he's wanting that information. And he's been on the forefront of looking at various different objects in the skies. Avi Loeb has been, I believe he's been on this show, and he's been really excellent at investigating extraterrestrial life, has a lot of evidence towards it. And again, Harvard astrophysicist. So are we alone? I don't think so. I don't think the odds are we're alone. I definitely don't believe that. And I think that, one thing that Avi has said in the past is that, one thing Avi has said in the past is that, you've got billions of stars that have been around billions of years longer than the sun. And so it is very possible these civilizations would have existed a long time before us, and they have a long time to develop science and technology to figure out how to get all the way to us. And if that's the case, then maybe they are amongst us, maybe they have visited us, and maybe they are inserted, and then what I'm saying based on this new study is that, well, then maybe if they've been able to make it to us and they've been able to show up, maybe it's possible that there's now alien DNA that lurks inside of some of us. But certainly something, it sounds strange. I'm not going to discount it. I'm all for yeah, maybe. Very much could be, we all could be aliens. Thank you for watching this clip from the full Kim Iversen Show, which you can catch Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern at KimIversonShow.com. It is free for you to watch. Again, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, KimIversonShow.com. See you there.